What's up, Florida gang? Welcome to the episode. Today we're going to discuss trades that we want to see from the Atlanta Hawks right before the trade deadline or on the trade deadline. We got some nice juicy trades, so stay tuned. Marvin, hit me. What's the first one?
So the first one is the Hawks trading Dejounte to Orlando Magic. So the Hawks would trade Dejounte and they would throw in AJ Griffin as well. For Markelle Fultz, who's been hurt for most of the season. A 2025 second round pick, a 26 first round pick, and a 29 first round pick.
That's it? Well, I guess that's three first round picks.
That's three.
But
That's two first rounders and one
Two
second.
firsts, a second, and Fultz.
Yeah, it doesn't.
oh,
And Griffin. I mean, no. Seems like
yeah.
the Hawks are getting snubbed in this one.
If I'm the Hawks, I would want back like Jet Howard or something. Or I don't know. That'd be interesting. Or just don't also include Adrian Griffin. But
Yeah.
speaking strictly for Orlando for a second, Orlando needs an upgrade at point guard. I mean, Marco Fultz has been injured, but when he's not been injured, he hasn't been great. I mean, he hasn't been able to really get in rhythm. Um, but I think Dejounte would instantly be an upgrade, obviously. Provides a little bit of outside shooting that they desperately need, some playmaking. I mean, although I just remember the Paulo Dejounte beef, that'd be kind of weird, but I think
They'll
they'll be
figure
able to
it
put it
out.
aside.
I'm sure
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
figure it out.
Wait, who?
You don't
Paulo.
remember that? They were,
Oh, Paul. I heard Paul and I was thinking Chris Paul. And I was like, I
oh
know it's
no,
not
oh
Chris
yeah,
Paul. Wait, which Paul? Is there a coach?
no, yeah.
No, I got you.
I think it would be for Atlanta at least. I mean, obviously you kind of recoup that draft compensation that you gave up for him. But yeah, giving up AJ Griffin. I mean, he can't even crack the rotation right now. But I mean, he was a lottery pick like a year ago still. So I would refrain from including him in the deal personally.
I just feel like the Magic would have to give away, yeah, quite a bit anyway. For Murray, he's got such a nice contract for a guy of his caliber with
Yeah,
how much
yeah,
time is left on that contract. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. He's getting paid less. He's making less than Evan Fournier for the next like every year. So
And I could be wrong, but I think I think he's making less than Fultz too, which is why I had to throw Griffin in there for some money. Um, but yeah, that's true. Maybe that could be part of a reason to the Hawks are like, well, we're gonna have to get some more for you,
he
from you.
makes more than he makes more than Fultz.
And does he?
Yeah, he does. So I mean I like the direction. I don't the details. No, I think it would have to be like straight up DeJounte, Markelle Fultz, and I don't know, two first and a second, or 3 seconds and a first, something of that kind of caliber. Give them obviously still like kind of a young star guard, but give them lots of draft capital in that kind of a trade. But I like that. I mean, the Magic, we know how good and lengthy they are at defense. You throw in Dejounte Murray into that kind of a defense and upgrade at playmaking, upgrade at shooting and scoring to help stretch the floor with Paolo and Franz, who sometimes struggle themselves to find a consistent rhythm. But I think they got to space the floor and really creates a full on scoring threat. And I love Markelle Fultz, so no hate there. Murray's just better. He's a better shooter. And so I think this could really, really put the Magic, kind of bring them back to that hot streak where they were, what, the fourth team in the East at the beginning of the season. I'm not saying they'll end there, but also kind of starting to look again like a true East playoff team instead of on this
yeah,
losing skid they've been on. So I like that trade a lot. And
yeah.
he's still young.
Also to speak one more time for the Hawks, it Markelle Fultz is a weird fit on that team. But also, I think if you do make that trade, I think a Trae Young trade can be set up off of it. Um, Obviously, that's the big question: is the Trae Young factor? Are they actually going to build around him? I mean, they've been saying he's untouchable, but you've had so little success these last couple of years, and a lot of people think it's the Trae Young offense. He's a liability on defense. I mean, so are you just going to be okay with resetting? And I think teams will give up a lot of assets. So yeah, I think that could be interesting for Atlanta.
Yeah, it definitely just puts them in a good spot. It really does. It puts both teams in pretty good spots.
Yeah,
Atlanta gets a lot of assets for this, kind of depending on if they want to trade those for another star, if they want to keep contending, or if they want to rebuild. And then little to lose for Orlando as well. I mean, Dejounte is a pretty proven, at least solidly good star. He's a pretty good piece of what they need. He's not old and he's got a friendly contract. So
Yeah.
honestly, I love this trade. I have never heard of this type of a trade, and I think this was a great trade for both teams.
Mm-hmm. All right, hit
Um,
us with another.
yeah, so the other one will be with the Pelicans. So DeJounte only to the Pelicans, and then the Pelicans give away Dyson Daniels, who's a young guard. Herbert Jones again, just because partially I do think the Pelicans are gonna need to move either him and or Murphy. And I've heard more rumors about Herbert Jones being out there for trades. And then they will get the Lakers next year's first round pick as well. Or yeah, first round pick as well.
Mm.
How many picks?
Just one first round pick for next year.
Mm,
So if I'm Atlanta, I love that trade. I mean, you get Dyson Daniels, who was a lottery pick a couple years, or I think last year.
He was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked him coming out the draft.
he's
He's
been
a
good.
great defender. He kind of plays like an early career Dejounte Murray. Maybe you could develop him into Dejounte Murray. I don't know.
And he's 6'8".
Obviously, yeah, obviously the Pelicans are on a shorter timeline, so that makes more sense. To trade for Dejounte. And then yeah, Herb Jones. The more defense you get around Trae Young, the better. Assuming you're keeping Trae Young in this situation. And yeah, that Lakers first could be valuable. You know, LeBron's a free agent next year. Um, so anything could happen really. Yeah, I personally love the trade for Atlanta. Just
Definitely good for them.
more defense. I think just a better fit. Like DeJounte and Trey are kind of weird fits. Two more off-ball players that you could put around Trey. And then for the Pelicans, it's interesting. I gotta think about it a little more.
Yeah, I like DeJounte going there too because that way you could put CJ back at shooting guard and hopefully, I mean, he's been doing really good at point
Mhm.
guard too, for sure, but he could potentially be a better player and scorer if he can go back to that shooting guard kind of second guy role.
And then let DeJounte just be a point guard.
Hmm.
That'd be. I mean, he's played his best this year when he is playing point guard. And I think CJ, as good as he has been as a point guard, I mean, almost borderline all-star level. I think he's even better as a shooting guard. Yeah, I actually like the fit a lot. Also, it just brings more defense into that backcourt. Obviously, you got Herb Jones, but uh, DeJounte is so much more of a factor on offense. And he's shooting almost 40% from three this year. So yeah, I think that's a perfect trade. One win.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I think Pelicans wise the most interesting. Hawks, without doubt. It's just great. Like Deacon said, you're pretty much getting proven. Instead of getting like three first round picks, you're and like they could bust. You know, like Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels are basically top 10 pick value. I'm not saying they're superstars, but in any draft, they're better or as good as half of the top 10 picks. So you're getting two proven like good lottery pick guys and that are young, good contracts, plenty of time left. Great if you want to trade them again. They're great right now for a team that struggles on defense. They're both great defensive players. Don't need the ball to let Trey. They might just be what Trae Young Hawks need. It might be Trae Young's last chance, but it could be a great fit. Great trade assets. And then the Pelicans, I think it's an interesting. You have nailed it. I think the given is Murray point guard, McCollum shooting guard. But another factor is they both have experience playing both. So that could make them just that much better. The question is a little bit is the shooting, right? That's always been a little bit of a problem for the Pelicans, a little bit kind of a mid-range team, Zion, Ingram, kind of mid-range in the paint, and the Colts kind of taking a step back while shooting an incredibly efficient three-point ball this season. So that could just increase with Murray playing the point guard. I hope things don't get clogged up, and like you said, he's been playing great. This has a lot of potential. I don't think he can really go too wrong for the Pelicans, but they're the most at risk because it's awesome for the Hawks. There's really not much reason they should say no.
Yeah. I just speak on the Pelican side for a second. I mean, really, why not? You know,
Hmm.
like your roster, it like on paper, it's one of the deepest in the league. Um, I mean, you really never have a non-NBA player on the floor, and that's pretty rare amongst those middle of the pack teams. Obviously, they're just missing the upper echelon star. Getting DeJounte is just another guy to potentially unlock Zion. Obviously, we saw him in San Antonio. He was an elite playmaker back then. Um, and it would just take more pressure off CJ and Brandon Ingram as well, Oof, as well. Um, and then for Atlanta, like you said, they're both off-ball players. They're both great defenders. Perfect for Atlanta. You could trade them again to trade for another star that fits better, or once you trade Trae Young, you got one of the best young rosters in the league with Jalen Johnson, Dyson, Herb Jones, whoever you get back for Trae, Kobe Buffkin if he ever plays. Uh, but
True.
yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it right on the head, Marvin.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, and even the Pelicans too, with the loss of Daniels, they have Hawkins, who's not as good as at defense, but he's an
Yeah,
elite scorer as well, who could then replace those minutes that Dyson
yeah.
gets there. Um, but yeah, I love it honestly too, especially for the Pelicans. I'm more of a Pelicans fan for sure. And I think it'd be really nice to see DeJounte running point and CJ going back to the Portland Damian Lillard days at shooting guard and being that guy to rely on to hit that three.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Deacon, you convinced me with why not. I mean, they're really not going to get worse, and I want to see the Pelicans succeed. It's pretty much they're not going to get worse, so they might get better. So why not? I love it. Marvin, these have been two genius trades that have somehow never crossed my mind that have you've cooked up, and I don't know why there hasn't been talks in this direction for both teams. But
Yeah,
maybe they.
and I do have another one with the Bulls. There's been Zach LaVine trade talks and DeJounte trade talks, potentially even a just straight up trade. That could be, I think, interesting. We've heard the Hawks do want more. Um, the trade I have cooked up itself isn't too great. It's DeJounte and Hunter for Levine in a 2024, the Bulls 2024 first round pick. I really
Hmm.
don't love the actual build that I have too much, but I like the idea of just like Levine for DeJounte for both teams.
Hmm.
I love it for Chicago. Well, I kind of love it for Chicago. Obviously, Kobe White's been awesome this year. He's one of my favorite players to watch. Um, and so this just kind of takes the ball off his hands, but he's been playing pretty much off ball a lot of times this year. I think also if they find a way to get rid of DeRozan this trade deadline, along with this trade, I think it would be perfect. And then DeAndre Hunter, he was a top five pick. What was it, 5 years ago? And he had flashes, he just could never reach that potential. And maybe in Chicago, suddenly it's the place where top five picks careers are being rejuvenated. So yeah, why not? And for Atlanta, I find myself rooting for the Hawks more times than not. I really like. I mean, I've always liked the Hawks. If I don't know how I'd feel about Zach LaVine and Trae Young in the backcourt together. But that seems like a Hawks type of move, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's accurate. Now, for I feel iffy about it from both. Again, for the Bulls, you don't really lose much. I mean, DeJounte's making less than half the money
Hmm.
than Levine on a longer contract. So it's awesome. Like you're not really losing anything. You're losing Kobe White, but you get Dejounte Murray. And then you get a first round pick, right? That would no
Yeah.
the yeah, and a first round pick. So yeah, you lose Kobe White. It's still kind of weird exactly if you do lose Kobe White and star. You know, I guess it's really good because you're building for the future. You get a young guard and a long cheap contract, and you get a first rounder. So why not for them for the Hawks? I just don't know why you would do it. You get, I guess, a little bit better catch and shoot version of Dejounte Murray, but still heavy ball usage. He's a much worse defender than Dejounte, and they struggle at defense. I mean, Kobe, and you have another guard too that wants the ball, Kobe White. Um, it's just like they're not. It's not like it's going to make them worse, really, but maybe it will. I don't really see them getting better from it. It's definitely not really helping their future as far as I can see, unless they have like. But so far, there's not been a Levine market, so it's not like they're gonna just trade him then off the bat and get a lot of return, and trade Trae Young too and go with Kobe White and a bunch of picks or whatever they get. That doesn't really seem like a viable option either. So I just feel like Deacon said, it would be a Hawks move, so it would be funny.
Interesting
That's
move.
how I see it. I have nothing more on that one. That was just a I wouldn't really take it from either team. If
It
I was
was
offered it at the Bulls, I would be like, well, I guess it's actually pretty good. I mean, I just love Dejounte Murray's contract. I feel like if any team is offered a decent looking offer by the Hawks as that team, I'd probably accept it just because he's got such a nice contract and he's got a really well-rounded game.
Yeah. And the Hawks too, I mean, we didn't mention them, but I'm sure there's shooters out there. We mentioned it in the Knicks video. Bogdan Bogdanovic, he could be a potential trade asset. Clint Capella could be another. Oh, I forgot to mention Onyeka Okongwu when talking about the young core. But Clint Capella could be another trade asset. And then we obviously talked about DeAndre Hunter, maybe Sadiq Bey. I don't know. Atlanta,
Everyone.
Atlanta, Atlanta could determine a lot for this upcoming playoffs just by where their players go.
Yeah. Atlanta has a lot to think about too, I think. Just like you said, there's a lot of guys that kind of I mean, for Atlanta, you don't really have that much to lose anymore by trying some of these trades, putting Bay out there, putting Bogdan out there, even putting Trey out there. Just kind of see what kind of returns you can get and what you can do for yourself instead of having to go to potentially be unsuccessful for another 5 years with Trey Young and then having to go rebuild, maybe try doing more or yeah, rebuild, do more of a restructure now to save yourself that time that it takes to do a full rebuild. And that's not even a guaranteed successful rebuild.
Mhm. Well, in my mind, I mean, we've heard the DeJounte to San Antonio rumors. If you could trade DeJounte and get back your draft picks, I don't know if San Antonio will give you all your draft picks, but if you could get your draft picks back, that allows you the ability to tank if you wanted to. Um, and obviously, maybe my perception is skewed because I'm a Thunder fan, but tanking went pretty good for us. So, um, I think it's an adequate route to go if you don't think you
Have
could,
Sam Presti.
yeah, if you don't think you could, restructure this roster. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents. Should
Fair enough.
we?
We go this good. Any other Hawks trades?
No.
Not for me.
Alrighty, man. I think we can wrap it up. Definitely comment your guys' Hawks trade is Trae Young out. Where could he go? That would be fun. But Floater Gang out.